opportunities coming up. So we're looking forward to sharing those with you. All right, so on today's agenda, we're just going to do a little introduction. We're going to share some tips and tricks for finding scholarships and applying for them, what to look for, and then lastly, we'll go over like the big scholarships that are due before the end of this year. Oh, and then so for those of you who haven't been to a webinar before, we have two different chat buttons. The first one is chat, where you can just make comments to like panelists or to everyone. And then the Q&A, you can go ahead and put any questions you have as like we're talking. And then someone can answer those for you like in the chat. And we'll also be able to share them out loud as well. So I'm Emily. I grew up in a military family, so I moved around a bunch. I'm mainly from like Texas area. I enjoy like crafts, painting, reading, and walking. I know some of my students also enjoy painting, which was really awesome to hear about. I got a BA in psychology and a BA in anthropology from UT, so really excited about that. It was super interesting. But that's a little bit about me.
And hi, I'm Hwayoung, and I've lived in several places, but I settled in the DFW area for middle and high school. I like to do cross stitch, and I like to listen to podcasts while I'm doing cross stitch. And I also went to UT and got a BA in international relations and global studies.
Hey everyone, my name is Sarah, and I am originally from the Valley, or South Texas. I am also a UT Austin graduate, and a couple of fun facts about me is I love Lego sets, so you might see a couple in my background, and I have 2 cats who you also might see in my background.
And finally, I'm Georgia. I grew up in Manor, Texas, sort of. I also have lived in multiple places like everybody else, but Manor's where I call home. I love reading and drawing in my free time. I also have 2 cats, but they've been kicked out of my room because they're loud. And I went to Southwestern University in Georgetown and got my Bachelor of Arts in Classical Studies.
Okay, so to kick us off, we are going to start with some scholarship myths, just as an icebreaker and to see how great you guys are and how much you're experts, I guess, in scholarships. Okay, so we have 4 per true or false questions. The first is only athletes and straight A students can get scholarships. The second is there are only scholarships available for high school students. The third is you must be a great essay writer to get scholarships. And the fourth is the only type of scholarships available are academic-based ones. Okay, and so it looks like we have correctly identified so far that number 1 is false. You do not need to be an athlete or a straight A student to get a scholarship. You also don't need to be a high school student to get a scholarship, which most of you got. 1 person and did not get that, but that's all right. That's why we're here. And for 3, most people got that you don't need to be a great essay writer for scholarships, which is great because there are lots of STEM people and others who aren't very good at them. And also, number 4, most people think that the only types of scholarships available, well, no, that there are more than just academic-based scholarships available. So yeah, great job, guys. You are pretty much in a really good spot right now. Okay.
All right. So our last true or false question mentioned academic scholarships, and we learned that that was false. This is a great one that Georgia had told me about. It's called the Zombie Apocalypse Scholarship. This one is not academic based. It is simply based on like creativity, maybe your interests, and it's just kind of a fun way that you can kind of like get in the spirit of Halloween, but also earn $2,000. So the topic for this one is imagine that your high school or college has been overrun with zombies. Your math professor, the cafeteria ladies, and even your best friend have all joined The Walking Dead. Flesh out a plan to avoid the zombies, including where you'd hide and the top 5 things you'd bring to stay alive. So that's it. Like for this scholarship, the only thing you'd have to do is like answer this topic, and you can do it in any way that you like want to, just 250 words or less. It's open to all high schoolers, so it's like must be 14 years of age or older, so it goes all the way up. And you must be a legal US resident. So those are the only 2 requirements for the scholarship. The deadline is coming up October 31st, so you have about 2 to 3 weeks to look into this if this is something you're interested in. Yeah, so it's like a really cool one, super creative, but again, just an example that not all scholarships have to be, academic based. There are lots of opportunities out there to find something you're interested in. And who can apply for this again? So it's literally the only 2 requirements are on there are 14 years or older, or must be a legal US resident.
Really quick, I do see that someone in the group has their hands raised. So if you want to go ahead and send us a private message using the chat feature, or you can also use the Q&A feature. We will also be taking a break in the middle of the webinar to answer some of your questions live. So I just wanted to point that out really quick.
Okay, so now we're going to move over to 12 essential scholarship tips. So the first one is start early. We want you to be able to apply for as many as possible, and that means giving yourself as much time as you possibly can to find lots of scholarships, apply to lots of scholarships, and also prepare very, very, very good applications for scholarships. You also want to create one place where you can keep track of all the deadlines and components and I don't know, criteria for different scholarships. We'll go back to that later. You also want to just keep a list of your accomplishments, whether that's like just you writing down in a spiral like, hey, I volunteered at this place saving puppies or something, or it's you like literally writing out a CV. You want to be able to write everything down so you can reference it later, because we all know that you are fantastic students and you're going to go and do great things someday, but it's kind of hard to think of concrete examples in the moment sometimes. We also want you to look for scholarships everywhere. So this could literally be like you Googling scholarships about the zombie apocalypse. It could be through your parents' work. It could be through community organizations. It could be through Austin ISD or something in Central Texas. It could be from like, I don't know, maybe you're like mayor has a scholarship program. Who knows? We also want you to be careful with your letters of recommendation. We want you to find people who can like talk about how fabulous you are. So for example, in my case, if I were looking for a recommendation, I would not go to the supervisor who worked with me when I was completely unprepared in a position for business development and marketing, because I was an international relations major and they hired me by mistake. So I did not do my best work there. I would instead go to the group leader of the volunteer, her organization I am part of, and ask her to, because she has seen me in meetings with congressional representatives, conducting myself professionally, creating letters to the editor, and doing all sorts of great stuff that she can brag about. And lastly, we want you to proofread your entire application. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard this a billion times from English teachers by now, but we want these applications to come off as polished as possible. We don't want you to like have spelling mistakes on your resume or like in your essay or whatever other materials you're going to submit, because that looks rushed and kind of sloppy, and we don't want that for you. Okay, so as I've stated in many different forms, apply to as many as you possibly can. But remember, you want to proofread, you want to go back and edit, you want to think about who your recommender is. So it really matters more like the quality of your application rather than how many you can submit, because, well, if you submit a bad application 50 times over, it's still a bad application, right? You also want to make copies of everything because things can get lost. We live in a very bureaucratic age where there's a lot of stuff to keep track of. You want to understand the terms and conditions. We don't want you to enter into a situation where there are strings attached, or one that's exploitative, or just something that's not in your best interests. We also want you to use a professional email because, well, for example, when I was like in college, like a junior or something, I had the same email I used since middle school that was like a bunch of numbers and a bunch of letters @gmail.com. And I remember one time my roommate looked at me and she goes, "You know, employers are going to think that you're a bot, right? They're not going to respond to that." And I looked back at her and I was like, "They are? But I want a job, I want money, I want experience." So I got a much more human sounding email after that. But at the same time, please make sure that your email is something that you wouldn't be embarrassed to tell an employer. Like, we don't want it to be squirrelsinyourpants@gmail.com. Also, look for small scholarships, especially locally, because local scholarships tend not to have the same amount of competition as national scholarship like the Questbridge, and they can add up. And even if it's only $500, $500 will go a long way towards like your groceries. You're set for a couple of months.
Okay. So where do you go and look for these scholarships? So there's a lot of places you can look, and it can almost be a little bit overwhelming. Well, all of the sites you see here on the screen, they've all been vetted by us. They all are websites that we have used as College Forward team members. And a couple that I want to point out is this Do Something. It's dosomething.org. It's a really good option if you feel like you're not great at writing essays. And that's because they just don't require essays, a whole lot of them. And so definitely look into it if that is something that interests you. The other one that I wanted to point out would be your school's website. If you're in high school, oftentimes your college and career center will have a lot of scholarship options on the website. So for example, I got a small scholarship from my elementary school, and that's how I found it. And local scholarships are great because there's usually less students applying to them, so you have a greater chance at getting them. And COFO Connect, of course, is College Forward's free student app, and we do post new scholarships on there about once a week. So definitely check the app, typically every Monday, to see what new scholarships we posted. Another site that we wanted to quickly highlight was RaiseMe, and it is a platform you can use to earn micro scholarships. So you go to the website, you create a quick profile. It's going to ask you like, what classes are you taking? What extracurriculars do you participate in? And you'll basically get points for all of those things. And it's something you update every single semester. And you can start this as early as your freshman year in high school, actually. And if you're attending a 2-year college and you're looking to transfer, you can also set something up with RaiseMe. It's really great. There are a handful of colleges in Texas that participate. UT Austin, Texas Tech, Concordia, Texas Lutheran are just a few of them. And so the way it works is if you keep up with your profile, you could have like, maybe $3,000 ready to go at that school by the time you actually go there. So it's a really great website and we encourage you to check it out.
Okay, and so we're going to go back to tracking your scholarships for a second. So this is just one of the ways that you can do that. It's just a really good idea to do this because, you guys are busy. You've got classes, you've got other components of college apps, you've got jobs, extracurriculars, family obligations. So it's not going to be ideal to like keep all of this information about like 5 different scholarships or something that you're applying for in your head. You're going to get things jumbled up. You're going to forget deadlines. So it's best to just put it down on a piece of paper or a Google Sheet or something and have it organized so that it's all there, it's all accurate, and you can refer back to that when you need it.
All right, and after you found your scholarships on all those sites we've given, and you've laid them out beautifully on those Google Excel sheet and definitely not on a sticky note shoved in your chemistry book as a reminder, here's some 10 steps to finishing and looking at those applications. So I'll just go over a couple of these because they're a little bit redundant to what Hua Young was saying earlier. So the first thing is to get organized. We kind of told you a little bit about different ways to do that. Again, those expandable folders. If you're at my after school meetings, I showed you like my giant accordion folder that had all of my paperwork in it. But definitely if you're more of like a computer person, just creating like a neat kind of like folder on your computer or using Google Drive is a great way to keep track of those too. The second one is to have a photo taken. And so this one's a little bit of like a weird one. It is super rare that a scholarship would ask you for this. It's more for like maybe if you're going to do something maybe theater or dance related or have like a portfolio made, but definitely not for like regular ones. But it is a good idea to have your photo taken, like a nice kind of professional photo taken, because you can use this when you make like that nice neat email to have it as like maybe your Gmail picture so that when people are getting emails from you, they can put a face to the name. Some ways that you can do this are, you don't have to get professionally done. You can, take a nice selfie in front of like a blank wall or just like a nice like color wall, or maybe outside, just something with like a clean background. And if you like, would normally wear makeup or something when you want to look nice, you could wear makeup, do your hair nice, just like a nice photo that's very professional. Draft a good resume. We kind of went over those earlier this week at your resume after school meeting. So list all those good stuff on there. Request letters of recommendation. And so these ones don't necessarily have to be from teachers or jobs. They can be, family, friends. They can be from, an organization, maybe a church leader. Just make sure that it follows the requirements of whatever scholarship. If it does ask for like a professional, recommendation or like a teacher, use them. But if it doesn't give you specifics, you can go outside to all those organizations you may be in. And then obtain your transcripts from your school. You can reach out to your like counselors or main office for that. And some of you may have like school websites where you can request that. Let's see. and write your essays ahead of time. So if you see a scholarship that you want to apply for, go ahead and just like make notes. You don't have to, have the whole essay written out. You can just be like, write the first thing that comes to your mind related to the topic and kind of clean it up later. Maybe talk to a teacher or one of your coaches about like, hey, how should I, design this essay? I have all these ideas, but I don't really know where to put them. They can definitely help you out with that. Also go over like drafts. Set up a simple email address. We talked about that earlier. Track your due dates. So that's awesome. Like the little Google spreadsheet. I love that idea because I was horribly like unorganized and would like be like, oh my gosh, I have something due tomorrow, or I had something due last night. So that's definitely not something you want to do with a scholarship. Submit applications exactly as requested. So if you have a scholarship and they're asking, for a resume and an essay, add the resume and essay. Don't add a bunch of other stuff that could, be confusing. If it has an optional document, you can either add that or not. If it's something that will like enhance your application, if it will not enhance your application, you do not need to feel like you need to put that on there if it's optional. But again, never leave out stuff that it's asking for. Always go over those requirements and don't add a bunch of stuff on top of that, because they're going to be like, you don't want the person that's giving you money to be confused about what's going on. And then again, make copies before submitting. So this is especially for if anything has to be like mailed in or like turned in like paper copy. You always want to have like another copy in case something happens, or you can use it for maybe another application. So just make sure you have everything nice and neat and organized so that when you need to find something or you need to refer to something, you like know where it is. You're not like scrambling around or like having to start over. All right, and so one of our tips that we've mentioned is to list your accomplishments. So what does this look like? If you're looking for a scholarship and you don't really know, what you're looking for, or kind of like what to look up, or maybe a scholarship that would be good for you, a good way to kind of figure that out is to kind of list everything that you've done and what you're interested in. So you can sort activities that you've participated in. So if you like volunteer, there's lots of volunteer organizations that offer scholarships. If you're in any after school clubs, in school clubs, or maybe just community clubs, a lot of times they'll have, opportunities for money there. If you play any sports, take dance classes, whatever it may be, they have a lot of scholarships geared to kind of like interests, and again, not just academics. You might have something like, oh, like here's $2,000. Just tell me like what you've done. Like, what's your favorite sport to play? Like, why are you passionate about it? Do you play any instruments or do any kind of art? And then do you have any technical skills? And so that's kind of like one way that you could sort like what kind of scholarships you want to apply for. Another one is, again, those academic ones or education ones. What's your GPA and test scores? If you've taken like super high, elective classes, what major do you want to pursue? If you know what you want to do, like you would be very, very lucky. One of the few to know what you want to do before going into school. And what's your family background, and are you a member of a minority group? So your culture, like who you are, is a very big part of, what interests you have, like how you relate to the world. And that's something that a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is what I am, but I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't feel like that way. No, it definitely is. Everyone has different experiences, different interests, and those things are really important, especially when going to school, when picking a school, when looking up scholarships. So never sell yourself short on that. And then local opportunities. Again, like local opportunities are going to be one of the best things to look for those like kind of easier, maybe they might be a lot smaller, anywhere from like 200 to like 2,000 between there. But there will definitely be a lot of those local scholarships available. Businesses, if you have a job, sometimes if you talk to your HR and you're working, they have like scholarships or ways to help you pay for school while you're working. So like I work at Target, and they are offering like scholarships and money for certain schools. So definitely ask about that if that's something that you do. And then scholarships from your home state, from your hometown, region. That's a good way to kind of like filter those. So these are just different ways that you can filter them. Again, it doesn't have to be educational. It can be regional and creative and just interest-based. So take a look at those. All right, and so these are some things as you're like looking, if you decide to kind of like, you know, go outside of like the list that we've given you about scholarship websites, it's definitely a good idea to do that, but here's some things to look for. If you open up the website and it's like this scholarship is guaranteed or your money back, that is a scam. You should not be paying to apply for any scholarship. You should not be giving any kind of information, you know, credit card information, any kind of, you know, like ways that they could charge you for a scholarship. Again, like this orange one here, I just need your credit card or bank account number to hold this scholarship. So like, let's say they're like, oh, you've been awarded like $20,000 or something. We just need your credit card information. Like, no, that's not how it works. It don't work that way. Don't give anyone your credit card information. You can't get this information anywhere else. So scholarships are always public. They're always going to be public. Anyone should be able to access the information from major databases. We'll do all the work. Sorry, too good to be true. You have to do your own work. We're not just gonna like give you stuff like randomly, like email you like, we've done everything and here's your money and give us your credit card. Like, you know. The scholarship will cost some money. So if you have to put any kind of money into it, like they're like, you give us 20 and then we'll save that and then do weird stuff with it, like, no, don't do that. You've been selected by a foundation to receive a scholarship, or if they say like you're a finalist in a scholarship contest. So they don't really have these. They're not going to give you, like make you a finalist in anything that you haven't applied for and that they don't know you and all they know is scores in your pants email. Yeah, so just like look out for those things. Never give anyone any kind of money. It's always going to be something that you apply for. And again, if you've like found something and you're not really sure, like ask a teacher, your coach, your parents before you kind of like do anything or give any like super personal information to a website.
All right, y'all. We're gonna break for a couple of minutes, and if you have any questions, feel free to use that Q&A feature that's at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will be answering the questions publicly so everyone can see the answers, because if you have the question, chances are someone else has a question too. Let's see. We've posted a couple of links in chat. I also posted links just to us because I was not paying attention. So if y'all need some of those links that we posted earlier, just let me know and I can post those links again. Yeah, there were about a dozen scholarship websites you can look into. And again, we pointed out some particular ones like Raise Me and the COFO Connect app that we all use posts scholarships every Monday. So there are plenty of ways to find scholarships out there. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? This is also a chance for you to like stand up and shake it out because I know this is the end of a long school day and everything, so. All right, so. Okay, so we have a couple of questions. How do the organizers of the scholarship choose the winner? I am keeping track of the attendees for this webinar, and we're not allowed to say the name out loud because it's a privacy issue. So we will be emailing you by tomorrow at noon with we'll email the winner by tomorrow at noon. And just FYI, I'll also answer these questions, type the answers so that y'all can see the answers. You're not just like gonna miss it if you don't hear me right now. I have a student who's undocumented. Can you talk about what her options may be? There are a good number of scholarships available for undocumented students, and we are going to talk about a couple of those scholarships later in this webinar. If I don't know what year your student is, but there's this one really big scholarship that I'm afraid just closed, but maybe for future reference. There's one called the Golden Doors Scholars, which is a really fantastic scholarship that's specifically for undocumented students. So in future years, it's right in the beginning of the school year. So scholarships for biracial students. I've actually received this question before and I never have a great answer for it. I know they exist, but I don't know of any off the top of my head. I apologize. Would it be reasonable for a scholarship to ask for your social security number? There's something about that that makes me feel like it's not a great idea. But I couldn't tell you exactly why. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't see why they would need that information. I don't know if someone else has a better answer than that.
I just want to say that your social security number is extremely sensitive information that you will need to verify your identity on your FAFSA and on your taxes. Like, it is critical and you need to guard it very, very closely. And I would not trust any scholarship that requires me to submit my social security number unless it's vetted and there is, say, a workshop from my university about it because it's from the US government and the US government needs to confirm that I have a social security number or something.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm going to answer these 2 more questions and then we can move on. Please feel free to keep submitting questions because we'll have another chance to go through these at the end. But if you win a scholarship, how or where do you receive the money? Many scholarships will send the money directly to your school. There are occasional scholarships that will send it directly to you, but you'll be able to tell basically whether the scholarship says this is specifically for tuition, they're probably going to send it straight to the school. If they say the scholarship is for anything, any sort of college cost, they might, but not guaranteed, they might send it straight to you. Is there a specific timeline when the scholarship deadlines are? That is a fantastic question. The answer is no. Scholarships are available throughout the year. So you're going to have some that the deadlines are in the summer, so you need to be looking for them outside of school. There are definitely ones that are in the beginning of the school year that we've missed already for this webinar. And there are ones that are at the end of the school year. So they're all over the place. You just need to keep looking. These are all great questions, y'all. Thank you for this.
I think there was another one. Someone asked about international students, I think, or non-US citizens.
So that depends. Like if you're asking about undocumented students, I did talk about that. There are definitely, if you're a student in the US who is not a US citizen, there are definitely scholarships available. Your choices are a little more limited, but they are absolutely out there. For international students who are actually going to school internationally, I am sure that there are really good scholarships available. That's just not my area of expertise, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I do think the Zombie Apocalypse Scholarship we mentioned earlier, that was for legal US residents. So I don't think you necessarily need to be a citizen for that.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I'm not positive. This is a good example of like when you're signing up for a scholarship, you mentioned earlier, always check the terms and conditions. You should absolutely be checking that sort of thing. If there's anything that something that I've tripped up over when I was looking for scholarships as a student is There are scholarships that'll be like, available to all US citizens. And then you look carefully, it's like available to students in Maryland and New York or something like that. And so like I wasted my time looking at the scholarship when it wasn't available to a Texas student. So I always look at your terms and conditions, see if it's something that actually applies to you or not. So you're not wasting your time.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for your questions so far. We will have more time at the end of the presentation for more questions, and feel free to keep submitting them either through the Q&A feature or you can chat one of us.
All right, so now we're going to talk about some of those big scholarships for high school seniors that are coming up before the end of 2021. So these are going to be scholarships that are due anywhere between now and January 1st of 2022.
So the Dell Scholars Program is a program that I'm really excited to present to you guys because it's so important for college forward students to apply to. This is a really big scholarship that is limited in who can apply for it, and college forward students are one of the groups that can apply. This is for high school seniors, and the deadline is December 1st. This is a long application, so I strongly suggest you start it as soon as you possibly can, because it will take you a little while to get through all the essay questions and such like that. So if you apply, you get $20,000 towards your college education. You also get a laptop and a printer, and you get counseling and financial aid coaching, support staff, which includes tutoring and such, and $500 a year for textbooks, which is a big chunk of money for textbooks. There are some basic requirements. You do need to be, you need to show financial need, which we'll talk about more in a second. You need to participate in a college readiness program, which includes College Forward, be a senior in high school, be a US citizen or legal resident, and have a 2.4 GPA. So again, you need to be part of a college readiness program in junior and senior year of high school, which includes Breakthrough, AVID, or College Forward. The really good news about this is everyone who's here can apply to the Dell Scholars Program. And because it's limited to people in these college readiness programs, the competition is much less for a very big scholarship. Again, you need to have a GPA greater than a 2.4 on a 4.0 scale. You need to show financial need through the FAFSA. You have to be Pell Grant eligible, which means you have an estimated family contribution lower than $5,000 once you filled out the FAFSA. And then you do need to plan to attend a 4-year college or university in pursuit of a bachelor's degree in the semester after you complete high school. So unfortunately, you can't take a gap year. You can't go to a 2-year college or a trade school. This is specific to 4-year colleges and universities, and you have to immediately join that program. So some statistics. In the 2020 to 2021 school year, we had 34 College Forward students submit Dell Scholars applications. This is out of 597 seniors in the COFO program, so only about 5.7% of students applied, which means that of that narrow field of applications, it's even narrower amongst College Forward students. Out of those 34 applicants, 10 of them were selected to be semifinalists, which is already a huge accomplishment. This is something you can put on your resume that you were a semifinalist in this huge contest. And just to point out, that was 29% of the applicants got selected to be semifinalists, which is a huge chunk. And out of those semifinalists, 50% were selected as Dell Scholars. That's half of the semifinalists won $20,000. So again, to emphasize, there is not much competition and you get a ton of money out of this. So I strongly, strongly encourage you to do it. I know I said it's a long application, but absolutely talk to your coaches. They will help you through it. It's not, it's not hard, it's just long.
Okay, and the Coca-Cola Scholars Foundation. So this is probably part of Coca-Cola's social responsibility initiative, which basically means they want to do something to invest in their community and put good into the world. And next slide. So the deadline is October 31st. So yeah, if you want to apply for this, get on that because that is soon. And it's a merit-based scholarship that gives you $20,000 and it gives it to 150 students a year. And I'm not very good at math, but $20,000 scholarships to 150 students sounds like a lot of money generally. So for this, you need to be a current high school student in one of the 50 US states or in Puerto Rico. You need to be a US citizen, which means not a temporary resident, a US national, a US permanent resident, a refugee, an asylee, a Cuban Haitian entrant, or a humanitarian parolee. And students who apply for this may not be the children or grandchild of Coca-Cola employees because they probably have their own special like financial aid scholarship option from Coca-Cola, and you must be a high school graduate.
All right, and so we have some more big scholarships. This one is the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation College Scholarship. This scholarship is due November 18th. So that's in about a month, a little over a month, right? Oh my gosh. It opens September 1st. So if this is something that you're interested in, get on it, ask your coaches for help. This college scholarship program is $55,000 per year that you're in college. And they also offer college planning support, ongoing advising, and networking opportunities. So all of these things are really great resources, and that $55,000 isn't bad either. Basic requirements are you need to be a high school senior. They also have another scholarship that Sarah's going to talk about after this for like transfer students. So for this one, you need to be a high school senior. Intend to enroll in the fall in an accredited four-year school. So it has to be a four-year school, a four-year university. A minimum cumulative and unweighted GPA of a 3.5 or higher, and also demonstrate unmet financial need with a maximum gross income of $95,000. So all of these scholarships are going to be like linked in the PowerPoints and also when we send them out. And you can also just Google them. It's like usually the first thing that comes up. But this one is the high school one, and Sarah's going to talk about the transfer scholarship.
Okay, so this scholarship is specifically for transfer students. So if you're currently attending ACC or another two-year college and you're looking to transfer and earn your bachelor's, then I highly recommend looking into this scholarship. It opened just earlier this month and it's due January 10th. So I would recommend not waiting until winter break to start the application. I would start it as soon as you can, because it is a lengthy application, I will tell you that. But it's worth it because it is $55,000 per year. And you also get all of those additional support services from Jack Kent Cooke. So some of the basic requirements. So again, you need to be enrolled in a two-year or community college. You need to plan to enroll in a bachelor's degree program by fall of 2022. You need a 3.5 GPA or higher. Same thing, you need to demonstrate unmet financial need with a gross income of $95,000, maximum gross income. And you, unfortunately, if you were previously enrolled at a four-year college, you are not eligible for this scholarship.
Okay, so some other opportunities we have for you are the Bank of America Student Leaders Program. This is actually not a scholarship, it's a program that will provide you with paid summer internships at local nonprofits. Ooh, awesome. A leadership summit in Washington, D.C., and also helps you focus on building skills and in building civic engagement. So yeah, all great things to build your resume with. The deadline for this is January 29th. Then we have the Hispanic Scholarship Fund, which is due on February 14th. It's of students of Hispanic descent. It's open to students who want to pursue all majors, but it's particularly interested in students who want to go into the STEM fields. You can get between $500 to $5,000, and it's also open to current college students. There is also the Hispanic Scholarship Consortium. So this is again for students of Hispanic descent. You can get between $1,000 to $5,000 a year, and you must reside in Texas. So you do not need US citizenship. I do not think you need documentation status for this. And yeah, so here are some further resources that will be linked out to you once we get the presentation. And also, in addition to all of these, remember, speak to your coaches, connect with them, because we are always willing and very happy to help you. And finally, so we started a raffle for all the people who registered here today. We are giving away a free $20 Target gift card that we are hoping will go towards, what's the word? Stocking your future dorm room. So that will be out tomorrow by noon, I believe. Okay, Sarah is nodding. Very good. And yes, any questions? Yes, we will send you the PowerPoint.
Yes, and we are recording this webinar as well, and it will be put up on our YouTube page in about a couple of weeks. But yes, we will send out the PowerPoint in the meantime. All right. We did receive a question about the Jack Kent Cooke Scholarship. I would need a quick minute to look it up unless our other panelists knows off the top of their head. Okay. So if you want to just give us a second, we can look that up for you. And we did get someone asked, what are the chances of winning? Would you mind clarifying your question for us? Chances of winning the Target gift card or a specific scholarship? A scholarship.
That depends entirely on how many you apply for, how good your application is, and how much you believe in yourself. We do believe, though, that all of COFO, but also all high school students in general, are eligible and can receive some kind of scholarship. It's just that a lot of people don't seek them out.
So I looked up the eligibility requirements for the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship, and the only thing that comes up is that you are a senior standing, plan for fall college enrollment, you have the 3.5 GPA, and you demonstrate unmet financial need. You may have to go like deeper into like actually applying for the scholarship to see other ones, but these are the ones that are posted on the official website. But we can also kind of look more into that and add it to the slides too once we find like the 100% answer.
Yeah, and if you don't feel comfortable with that, then you could ask your coach, and maybe your coach can email the organization directly.
Mm-hmm. Georgia, we have a question specifically about the Dell Scholarship Program. Would you be able to take that one for us? It's in the chat.
For the Dell Scholarship, Honors College Prep can apply for dual credit classes. Okay, firstly, I want to make sure that I'm getting this question right. Like, can you have dual credit classes to go into the Dell Scholars Program? Yes, a lot of scholarship opportunities really like to see that you've done like dual credit because it shows that you've challenged yourself. If you're asking if you can use the Dell Scholars Program to pay for dual credit classes, that would be a no, because you need to be a high school senior going straight into a 4-year college. So hopefully saying both of those things hit on your the answer you were looking for.
Wonderful. I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. You are welcome to stick around and ask us questions. Otherwise, we just want to say thank y'all so much for coming this evening to this scholarship webinar. Again, we'll be sending out the slides, and we will also be posting the recording. But again, thank you for coming. If you want to stick around and ask questions, that is totally fine.
I stopped paying attention for a half second, so I don't remember if this question was answered. Are there